Last week, we started a discussion on bad customer service in Nigerian businesses and its impact on the economy and corporate image of our country, Nigeria. Since then, we have received a lot of feedback from our viewers, which has necessitated a continuation of this conversation on bad customer service in the country. Welcome. This is Bridges, working for a sustainable Nigeria. I'm still yours, Mujima Kojola.
Bridges, 10 p.m. every Thursday on the network service of the NTA.
Bad service, it seems, is prevalent in many businesses, so much so that it has become the norm for many consumers in our society.
What really causes bad customer services is really the following, and I will be very brief. One of them is the production of standard goods, substandard goods. That is one of the problems.
Most of these service providers are not maybe directly the boss of the services they are providing. Maybe they are workers.
And as we speak today, you will agree with me that it cuts across every business organization.
Thanks for watching. Same time next week. On this episode of Bridges, I have with me in the studio on the panel Alhaji Garba Gusau, President of the Nigerian Association of Small and Medium Enterprises. Sir, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Also from the University of Abuja, Professor Mabel Eweroma. Ma'am, you're welcome.
Thank you.
And from Rover College, Mr. Abolo Emmanuel. Thank you for coming as well. As always, our audience are all ready and waiting to participate. As always, I want to say welcome, wonderful Nigerians. So the conversation continues immediately now. And any of you would take it because I have just one woman sandwiched between both of you. So I'm just going to throw it at the three of you because I know three of you are capable. Now, how does bad customer service impact a business and the overall image of Nigeria? Let's do a recap of what you had last week. Right, any of you can take it.
Well, I remember we talked about...
So you consider it to the woman?
Yes.
Okay.
I remember we talked about the life experiences, especially when people encounter bad customer service, how it impacts on businesses. They don't last to the next generation. Apart from that, the bad influence on those who watch what happens during bad customer relationship goes on and creates a rippling effect in the sense that you now see bad customer service as a norm rather than an aberration. And the multiplier effect is that Nigerian businesses are seen in that light, and that's a negative image for the country.
Right, sir.
Yeah, I think she's right. The issue is that we need inflow of capital, and to get that, we need to put our things right. So if a customer is not happy, like she said, there's no way people will even invest in this country, because they will be thinking that, okay, if we do come here, how do we make money? So the important thing is that there's need to really improve the environment and also the psychological thinking of individuals.
Right, Mr. Abol.
Yes, bad customer services tend to reduce the shelf life of any organization. It's something that you have to pay particular attention to, especially when you have competitors. Most industries definitely will have service failures, but more importantly is the issue of service recovery. Your ability to recover when there's service failure makes more of the impact than just sitting down and allowing the failures to continue. So I'd like to re-emphasize that if you don't run good customer services, you are reducing the shelf life of your organization.
Yeah, I'll take that. If you don't if you don't give good customer services, you're reducing the shelf life of whatever service you're offering now. Now, who is to blame? Is it the consumer or the customers or the service provider? Yes, I see you're eager to come on.
Well, I will use it using my own members, NASME. We have more than 25,000 members all over the federation, the country. And we always tell them, I think who is to be blamed? I would say boss. Boss will be blamed. For the producers, we always tell them, look, produce the right quality goods. Once you do that, you are sure of improving your business. But for the consumers, obviously, we also need to tell him, look, there are standards. If this thing is not good, try to make complaint. So I think sometimes the producer will be shy. They may not like to report because they are afraid to report something is wrong and so on and so forth.
Or the consumer, you mean?
Yeah, the consumer, sorry. I mean, the consumers will be afraid to report because they will be thinking that, look, if I report this person, what will happen? So they will shy away. So I think we need to really, like I said, come back to educating them both.
So capacity building.
Yes.
For me, the buck stops at the organization. Because once there is employee disaffection, once there is that inability to connect with the customer by offering good service, it is that business that is to blame. So for me, it is more on the part of the organization and less
so the provider,
on the part
provider here.
On the customer.
Okay. What's your take?
I still feel that it has to do with the provider, because the first customer really is to engage is the staff of the organization. That's the first customer. If you get your people well engaged, definitely they're going to reflect it on how they accommodate the customers. So the organization must recognize a high level of staff engagement enough to have an effect on the, in quotes, outside customer. The first internal customer is the staff, and then the external customer. So to get the external customer right, you must get the internal customer right too.
Yes, getting this internal customer right. Now, let's look at the process of service, particularly when you go to, the everyday provider. You go to the supermarket, even at the market, at the level of the market. I mean, you find out that our women, our market women, are courteous. Does courtesy have any impact? Or I mean, is it the fact? Is it part of the moral decadence that we are talking about? Does it have an impact on this customer service thing that has become such a concern for us?
Yeah, being cautious is one thing. Like I said earlier, being cautious is one thing. Another one is to look at the system. Let's look at waiting time, which is a critical index in customer service. People are always thinking about how long it took them to access some service. The waiting time could be partly as a result of the frontline desk. Otherwise, it could also be as a result of the system. People have queued overnight to get an apple. They waited all night. The first thing that the customer asks is, what am I waiting for? That's the psychology of anybody waiting. What am I waiting for? If the organization creates enough value, people will not see that as waiting. They will see it as a movement towards achieving some success. So the organization, first of all, must understand that being cautious is one thing, creating value that people will be willing to wait for. People have overnight waited, queued overnight because they want to get the iPad, the Apple iPad. But people will not wait for 2 minutes if they are not going to get value. In a hospital environment, people will wait for 3 months to see a very good consultant, but they will not wait for 3 hours to see a very bad consultant.
Yes, ma'am.
Courtesy is important. In fact, for me, it is the live wire of any organization, especially when you have the relationship between the customer and the buyer. I agree that most of our market women display courtesy, especially when there is competition and they need to attract a customer. However, on the other hand, you find lack of courtesy in an environment where profit has been made or have made enough profit for the day, and so the next customer or any other customer can go to hell. And that happens when such an employee does not have much stake in that business. And so for me, stakeholding is also a very important factor as regards courtesy.
Well, you know that stakeholding is important, but really and truly, you can have workers who don't who are not stakeholders, but should show some measure of commitment. Is it about dignity of labor?
Yes, it is. She mentioned about courtesy. Dignity of labor is also important, because when an employee feels he's part of the place and he's being respected, obviously he will give his best. He will try to give his best. But if he's treated anyhow, obviously he will find a way to pay back. So I think we need at the moment to make sure that employees are also given respect. They should be trained. They should be shown the importance of courtesy to the customer when they come to ask for their services.
Okay. Well, two things that I'm taking away from the panelists and hoping that our audience will buy into is the fact that your product would keep your customers and it can promote good services. And then again, the need for dignity in labor, that you need also for them to feel that, I belong here and I'm proud of what I'm doing. How we evolve that in our society, I'll leave it for our audience. When we come back, you're watching Bridges and we're looking at bad customer services, its impact on the economy and of course our country. Thank you. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back. You're still watching Bridges and we're looking at bad customer services, its impact on the economy. Our panelists have been able to come up with the fact that we need capacity building, we need to provide good services, we need as providers ourselves to have sellable things that will not only attract but keep your customers. And how best to do that? Let's go to the audience. Any of you can start.
Anab Chibitek is my name. A true Nigerian, and I think in a bid to curb the bad aspects of customer care services in this country, I think it's all boiled down to the employee having the attitude of apologizing, empathizing, and rendering a sense of validation to the customer, because I believe they say there is this customer that comes in and he has his right to enjoy the full services from the company. So I think the employee should cultivate that habit. More so, we should look at our internet service providers, because in as much as our businesses are going into a digital world, there's this need to consider the location of the company and the internet service provider that works in such area. And I think by that, there will be a remedy in our internet-based services.
Thank you very much. Yes, please. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I still remain Linus.
We want to know you. Okay.
I still remain Linus Obin, an expert in service excellence. I would like our panelists have said, one of the things I believe that the organization should do is to orientate properly the goals, the objectives, even the mission statements of the organization, so that every employer will be acquainted with this. This will help so much, because our inability to do this has a serious impact on our nation, because we are talking about service excellence. There is no second generation businesses that is generated in Nigeria as a result of this. And you discover that when an employee, an employee is offended, he will not give his best. And one of the reasons why I believe this is paramount is that it brings out a lot of complaints, and the organization has its brand being treated negatively. And once you destroy your brand, there is nothing anybody can do. You will start all over, and to build is very important and difficult. So we should be able to get the right orientation as to keep the business moving. And in doing this, we will have a multiplier effect, because when you are treated fine, people will hear it, and the organization will be advertised.
Okay, so it's, we're saying here that it's important for the employer to treat the employee well. That way it will promote good customer service,
Absolutely.
Right? Thank you. Yes, sir.
Gabriel Anebude Kingsley, investment and real estate consultant. And the problem here is bad customer services. And we have discovered that most businesses are not generational, just closed like that. I will always place the bulk on the provider. And the provider now, the management. If management lacks focus, definitely the organization will have nowhere to go. And unless management is able to come to the understanding that the customer is the first inspector, the customer is the best marketer. And two, how do management deal with feedback system, feedback mechanism? Because you can send somebody to Harvard and train the person and there is no supervision. You can have the staff and complaints are coming from customers and they are not attended to. It's a great problem in Nigeria, and I think with this program it will be solved. Thank you.
My name is Folu Duke. I want to be particular about the aviation industry. A lot of times when you want to buy tickets, some feel they are doing you a favor, especially the international. Their stewardesses feel that they are too much for the job, or they are too much for you as the customer, and so they want to attend to you anyhow. And even the local ones sometimes, when they are late, when you are late as a customer, they get you to pay a fine, no show or late charges. But they go ahead and they delay you from taking off at the right time, and they don't even have the courtesy to refund your money that they charge you for being late. So all those things. And I think we need them to have a feedback line, whether online or even right at the desk where you can complain, because after they take your money, that's it. And a lot of the stewardesses are supercilious. They feel they are too much for you. Maybe, I don't know where that mentality stems from. They feel they are just too much for you as a customer, or for the country, or for what they are doing. Thank you. Okay.
Good day, my name is Obinaya Urabai, public affairs analyst. You asked a question, anchor person, who is to blame? I'd like to spread it. I am number one person you should blame. I'm part of the society. We need to go back to where we started from. Has it always been like this? I do not think our society has always been a society that lacks courtesy. If you go back into our history, our people have always been courteous. It goes back to the values, like someone said in the first episode. Is it possible that we'll go back to where we lost it, and then, like the Rover College director said, try and do like the recovery? If we do a recovery, then we'll find our path again. There's no harm in saying we've lost it, let's come back to the path. What do we need to do? Go back to family. Is it possible we begin to train our people, our children well, and then go back to organizations? Now, organizations recruit for attitude and train for skill. That means every organization should have a customer service architecture. If you have a customer service architecture, you begin to do like the Japanese or like the Americans. As I speak, the Americans have their budgets already outlined for the next 15 years. Japanese have 50-year plans. Nigeria used to have like 5 or how many year plans. Now, if you have those plans, the next thing to do is implementation. And when you have implemented and you begin to see loopholes and problems along the line, the next thing you do is monitoring and evaluation, like he said. When you do all of that, then you're always in charge of whatever goes on in your organization. You can never shelve that responsibility. The buck stops on your table. If you're starting a vision, you know why you have that vision, and you follow that vision to the letter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, you want to say something?
Yes. Yes. You know, going back to the feedback system, there's something called the voice of the customer. It's called the voice of the customer. But most people at the top, there is a concept called the iceberg of ignorance. Most people at the top of organization who should make those changes don't understand what is happening on the front line. 4% of the information at the front line is what they get out of the 100%. So if you want to run your organization, you should have a feedback loop enough to get the voice of the customer so that you can make the required changes. Some of the chief executives and the directors don't even understand or don't even appreciate or have enough information about what is happening on the front line. So the concept of iceberg of ignorance have to be managed in a way that people at the top have a feed or a double loop mechanism of getting the information about what is happening on the front line.
Okay.
That will help them to manage the change.
So managing the change, yes.
Ubinawa Boreze is my name, Youth and Students Advocate for Development Initiative. Talking about bad customer service in Nigeria, I want to believe it's a two-way thing. Mr. A is buying from Mr. B, and we believe that the customer is a king, and all of us are customers in one way or the other. So I believe that the person that is providing me services deserve my encouragement too. So let us not look at it from the angle of maybe the person buying. They too deserve our encouragement too. Thank you.
Right. Let's hear now from the National Orientation Agency.
Audu Solomon from NOAA, Abuja. In an organization, everybody should be made to feel important. There are the management staff, the other middle level, and the persons that get engaged with customers on a day-to-day basis. Each person has a very important role to play. If an organization makes the frontline man, no matter what level he is in the organization, to feel that what he is contributing will go a long way in raising the status, the profit margin of that organization. He will want to put in his best to ensure that that organization grows. A very simple thing that we used to see, I think should be brought back again. Just suggestion box. That the customers should be able to write a complaint or compliment efforts of what the experiences had. And like the ROA manager said, that if the management would take time to read this feedback inputs that the customer has brought and work on it. You know, one of the things that we've always complained about us as Nigerians is, even when we have a lot of documents, we never go back to implement what we are supposed to do. I think we should have that change, that most of the things that will make us move really forward, we have them within us. All we need to do is to have the courage to do them. And even in this customer service, I think we can do that.
I'll have one last person for the very final word. Yes, sir.
My name is Bola Obilewu, a PR consultant. I think we should also talk about the first contact in every organization. It's very, very key. When the attitude of the first contact is wrong, such a person will present a very, very bad service to the client. And of course, no matter how good your product is, once the customer service relation is not there, I won't come back, irrespective of how good your product is. So there's need to also address the issue of attitude.
Attitude.
First contact.
Attitude and first contact. Right. Let's wind it up with our panelists, sir, quickly.
Yes, I think a lot of brilliant ideas and suggestions has been made, and particularly on the issue of feedback. Very important, and I think we should find a way to make sure. I wish the lady from Consumer Protection Agency is here.
So we'll get back to them.
Yes, I think there's need to look at all the agencies that are doing one thing or the other to help the consumer to get the right quality and services. And I think when we coordinate all those agencies, we must find a synergy to make sure that they help protect the consumers. I said this, somebody did mention about the airlines. I don't want to mention, I think the airlines should, not only the airlines, all organizations should try to inculcate, yes, they should try to take the customer as a key. And I think that, like I said, the agency, we should find a way to bring them together and tell them this is the way to do it, or find a way to coordinate it.
Right, ma'am.
For me, value addition is essential. And there is the need for us to extend the value addition chain to such an extent that every process involved in buying and selling or in any aspect of patronage should add value and give a good image of our country.
Right.
Yes, in addition to the feedback loop, I like to emphasize that customer engagement is very important. Just in 1 minute, there's an organization that we're having a problem with their customers. And the first thing I advised them to do was to go to your customers and ask them, what do you think we can do to improve our services? It changed the platform. We're just engaging the customers and asking them, we are not doing so well, but I think that we can get information about how we are doing. They didn't really quite improve. But the fact that they engage the customers changed the perception of the customers, and they see that these people are not doing well enough, but I think they're also trying to get to improve their services.
Well, I thank you all, and I think our time is fast spent. Well, we've come to the conclusion that there's need for feedback. There's also, we need to promote whatever we're doing. We need also to have good quality to ensure that people will come back. And first contact in terms of attitude, in terms of even courtesies, simple courtesies, and of course building capacity within those that we employ to provide services. And most importantly, for the owners of businesses to also engage not only with the people that work with them, but also with their customers. I think that we will have a quick turnaround, because that's what we need. Nigeria is in a hurry to be, come 2020, we want to be in the Committee of Nations that would be ruling the economy of the world. So as we push on to this, we continue to build bridges. Thank you, and we'll be back same time next week.